there were a lot of things that happened to me that just weren't okay. And there's no amount of me growing and being mature that make them okay. Hey everybody, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a Q&A. I asked for some questions over on Instagram. Most of them were travel related. A few of them were like work or personal related, but we're gonna dive right in and I'm really glad that you're here. I just got back. It's been over a week. I had intended to get this video done earlier, but I always think that I'm going to be able to come home after a major international trip and take like a couple of days off and then be ready to dive right back in. And I never am. I was still exhausted. I caught a little bit of a cold, nothing serious, but it just meant that this video was a little delayed getting out to you guys. But I knew you'd understand because it's summer and we're all just like a little more laid back. By the way, I hope everybody that celebrates had a great 4th of July. Ours was super chill. We watched fireworks and had hamburgers and hot dogs and did all of the things. So today's the first day that I've really felt like, okay, I can do the makeup and the hair and I can focus and I can get this video done. So hopefully I can rein it in. Kind of in a summertime mood, I'm not going to lie. So I might be a little bit all over the place, but we can only do our best. So I'm going to dive right into your questions. You guys sent in really, really good kind of thought-provoking questions, as you always do. The number one though was very, very practical. I saw on your Rome travel vlog that you upgraded to Delta One. Tips for upgrading. Okay, are you ready? This is big. Write this down. This is a huge tip and hack that you're only going to hear right here on Joyful Living with Jen Lefforge. Check every day. Seriously, that is my hack. Check every day. I had been checking every day, never could get the flight out lower than 12:50. And then finally, after I got to Rome, I was just sitting at the airport. I had some time before my room was ready and I checked and they offered it to me for $350 on the way back. And in my brain, that was enough. It ended up being such a great call. If you watch those travel vlogs all the way to the end, they'll be coming up throughout the summer, but I'll put a link to it right here so you can go and check it out. But you'll see that it ended up being a really good call because of a ridiculous purchase I made in the Rome airport. But anyway, it's one of those things that it just seems to be luck of the draw. It seems to be time of day. I don't know if it's the cycles of the moon. I have no idea how Delta decides, when they decide, but checking every day is the same way that we got our upgrade to Premium Select, my son and I, on our way to and from Tokyo. So yeah, that is my suggestion. Book the fare that you can afford and then check every day to see if maybe you can get upgraded to the next level of service. A lot of people will say that they will call and they have good luck that way, but I don't have any patience for phone calls, so I've never done that. I've always just checked online. So may the odds be ever in your favor. Trying to decide between Royal Caribbean or Disney Cruise, huge money difference, age 3 son, help. I so wish I could speak about this more intelligently, but I've never sailed on Royal Caribbean. I've only ever sailed Viking Sea and Disney Cruise Line. Having said that, with a 3-year-old, I cannot believe you cannot do that. I can't believe you could do better than Disney for care for a 3-year-old. And also my friends that are normally Disney cruisers that have sailed Royal Caribbean have been disappointed. Now, I'm not speaking for all of you. I'm just telling you the people that I know. If you feel differently, comment below, help our person out here, let them know what you think. But to me, Disney is definitely worth the money. But again, I can't really be honest or compare that because I've never sailed on Royal Caribbean. What would be your dream cruise? I still have not sailed Alaska. After doing this Greek Isles cruise, I loved it, but it is really not my preferred way to travel. I like to stay in one place for a long time. I think the term is slow travel. That's really more my speed. I'm not really a person that needs or wants to see like the huge tourist attractions or the big things where everybody goes, although Pompeii was unbelievable. I can't wait to get that particular vlog out to you guys. But for the most part, I like to stay in smaller areas, a little off the beaten track, where I can really get to know the culture and the people and the area. I don't think European cruising is for me. I have, however, heard that Alaska cruising is amazing because of things that you can see that you wouldn't have access to seeing any other way. So I don't know, that might end up on the schedule sooner rather than later. So stay tuned for that because I need to get myself on an Alaska cruise. Do you use a packing list? Do you use paper? Do you use an app? So I do have a list on the Notes app of my phone that is simply called Mission Critical Packing List. And this is the list of things that if I don't have them, I can't have a happy trip. So this is like my disposable contacts, medications, my travel fan, a couple of toiletries that I can't live without. And then with every trip, I just add a section that is mission critical for that particular trip. So if we're going to Mexico, that's going to be my beach towel, maybe our snorkel gear. If we're going to Walt Disney World, then that's going to be some of our parks touring stuff. So I will tell you at this point, it's there, and I go through the process of making it, but I hardly ever check it, but that's just because I travel so dang much. And at this point, almost everything stays packed. All of my toiletries I have duplicates of, my glasses I have duplicates of. I try to refill like my disposable contacts in the bag that they go in as I'm unpacking, so that when I go to pack for the next trip, it kind of is mindless. But you're probably not traveling every month like I am, so I definitely think a packing list is great. I like doing the Notes app on my phone because you can do it with the little check boxes and I can check things off as they go and then I can clear it for the next time. So yeah, that's just what I do. How do you plan and budget for your travel? Whew, this is such a good question. So I travel two different ways. I do travel that is for work, meaning I am going just to film videos and bring it to you guys. It's not that I don't also have a fabulous time, but then I also travel for my personal life. So I'll answer the work question first because a lot of people ask me about this. The way that I run my business is my Google AdSense revenue, which is the money I make from ads on YouTube, or if you have YouTube Premium, I also make money there. That is what I use for my travel budget. So my travel budget is actually set by how much money I make with AdSense revenue. And I can tell you that I am broke right now. I have no money in my travel budget thing. It's a good thing that I have a DVC member cruise coming up, and then I have a trip to Greece with Scott at the end of the month, and I'm going to film that trip. So I'm going to need to figure out how to generate some extra income to pay for it because the business revenue is not there at the moment. So fingers crossed. And then I don't use the money that I get paid by my patrons does not go for my travel. That's how I pay to run my business. So that's how I pay for my assistant. That's how I pay my own salary. That's how I pay for all of the office supplies and all of the things we need for that. So if you want to join us on Patreon, by the way, nice segue, Jen. It is $5 a month or $10 a month. You can also join annually and then you get a little bit of a discount. We're getting ready to do a new live stream over there. We have a special Instagram. We have a great community. I would love to see you join us. But Patreon is an essential part of my business model. So yeah, would love to have you join us there. Patreon.com/Jen Lefforge. I always feel a little weird mentioning it, but it is an integral part of my business. So if you're watching my videos and you enjoy my videos, I would love to see you support the work that I do by joining us over there. So yeah, that's how I pay for it. Now, how I budget for it is, it really just depends on the trip. I do like to have as much paid for as possible in advance. Usually I'm only paying for myself in terms of food, so that's pretty easy. But that's one of the reasons I love cruising so much, is so much of it is upfront and I know exactly how much I'm going to be spending. But I do try to be budget conscious when I can. And I let the market tell me when I'm going to travel, right? Because if you guys are watching a bunch of my videos, I had some great revenue months, which is why I was able to do Japan. It's why I was able to do the Greek Isles cruise, which was completely last minute, but the money was there, so I went for it. So it really just depends. So if you want me to do more traveling, keep watching the videos. Make sure you like and share and do all the things. So yeah, that's how I do it. Do your dogs get upset when you travel, and how are they cared for while you are away? I always have one of my sons stay with them, although we do have a big, all 5 of us are going on a trip in January, and we desperately need a really good house sitter. So if you're in the Atlanta area and you know of like a business that does that, will you let me know? Because that's what we're looking for. We're very protective of our babies. I won't take them to a kennel, and they do okay while I'm gone. They tend to not eat, which is kind of a bummer. But the vet assures me that they'll eat when they're hungry, that they're okay, that they just get a little upset. And then after I'm home a couple days, they settle down. So it is for sure the hardest part of traveling. And it's not that I don't miss my husband, because of course I do. But because he's a pilot, he travels for work too. So it's just as likely that when I'm on a trip, he's not going to be home. So we're used to that. We're used to being apart, but I definitely miss my dogs. And also when I travel, I will miss just my routine. I like my routine. I like getting up every morning and having my coffee. And when I get home, those are the things that I most look forward to diving back into and re-engaging with. And so it's kind of nice because I do really love what I do for work, and then I get to go and travel and bring you guys home the stories. But then I also love being home, and then I can film videos about that for you guys here on Joyful Living. So love it. So now let's get into some more personal questions. When did you and your husband start investing? I love this question because I remember the day that I started investing. I was 20 years old. I had just gone to work for Scottsdale Memorial Health Systems, which at the time, I don't know if it's still called that, you know, the way different medical things have been purchased and whatever. But I was enrolling in my 401k for the first time, and they invited us to a seminar to learn about something called dollar cost averaging. And I was completely engaged with this presentation. I was taking all kinds of copious notes, and he did this visual for us about what, $25 invested when you're 20 means when you're 50, and how that number can grow, and the power of dollar cost averaging, and that even when the market dips, if you're continually putting money in, how your money grows, how it's diversified, all the basics of investing. And I knew that I would always be invested, and we have been investing ever since. Now, there have been dips in the road. I started investing at 20, but then when Scott lost his job, we basically had to wipe out all of our investments due to financial hardship in order to keep our house. So then we had to start all over again. But I had already seen the benefits of it, and it would be easy to say, well, a lot of good it did you because you don't still have those dollars that you invested when you were 20. True, but because we had that safety net, we were able to hold on to our house, and we didn't have to go deeply into debt during that time period. And so it has served us really, really well. I think my biggest lesson on that is always pay yourself first. And for us, it's don't see the money. Have it all taken out before you ever get your paycheck. And that way the priorities are in place, and no matter how small that amount is, just regular, consistent setting that money aside. And, several decades later, I can finally tell you that it is definitely paid off, and we're in a really strong place financially. And so I was 20. So there you go. Start investing. The best day to start investing was 20 years ago, and the second best day is today. If you could go back and tell your younger self anything, what would you tell her? I would tell her to go to therapy. And I'm not being funny. I am a trauma survivor. I actually have been diagnosed with PTSD. I did not know that I was a trauma survivor when I was young. And had I known, I could have gotten help sooner. And I think many, many things about my life would have looked very differently. I don't have any regrets. I love my life. I feel like in a lot of ways, I don't feel like I am the happiest I've ever been. And to be able to say that at 52, I think is pretty significant. And it's because of some amazing counselors. It's because I've worked through some childhood trauma, and I am on the road to really feeling whole, and like I can look at my past experiences, and I'm never going to be one that says, oh, I'm so grateful for my past because it's made me who I am today. there were a lot of things that happened to me that just weren't okay. And there's no amount of me growing and being mature that make them okay. So I think for trauma survivors, that always feels a little smug and like, you really don't know what you're talking about when people say things like that. And sometimes trauma survivors say it. So I'm not judging how anybody chooses to deal with their trauma. I'm saying for me, I wish those bad things had not happened to me, but they did. So since they happened, I wish I had gotten help and worked through them with the help of a professional sooner than I did. So yeah, that's all I got about that. Would you recommend Disney cruise for a mother-daughter trip? Oops, I missed that one. It should have been back with the travel section. That's okay. I would recommend any cruise for a mother-daughter trip. I did Viking Sea with my mom a few years ago. Best trip we ever had. I think it's a great mix because you can do your own thing, but you're still together. We were in the same cabin for a 10-night cruise. We had a ball. Of course, I had the gym. She could go do her thing. We didn't have to be joined at the hip all the time. But it was a lovely, lovely trip. And honestly, my mom is going to be 84 next month. Somebody else had asked, how's my mom doing? She's great. She's coming to see me next month, which I'm super excited about. She's not been out here to Atlanta since before COVID, so we're all thrilled about that. But I think anytime you can travel with your mom, if you're lucky enough to have her with you and she's well enough to travel, whatever trip you do will be great, but I think a cruise is a great option. Did you ever homeschool or consider homeschooling your sons? I did consider it. Two of my three sons have pretty significant learning differences, and there were years that the public school system just was not serving them well. But at the same time, I was not equipped to serve them either. And so we fought through it. Public schools here in the United States, I happen to know that the person who asked that question lives in the UK. I don't know how it is in the UK. Here in the US, it really depends on the school and the year as far as what kinds of accommodations you're able to get, about how all that works. My big thing is I'm just not a very patient person. And my sons, most years were blessed with incredible teachers that were much better for them than I ever could have been. And I realized that the teaching profession has really come under fire in recent years, at least here in the US. Maybe it's better in the UK. But I always had such a deep appreciation for these wonderful humans that were willing to invest in my kids. And I always felt like it was better for them to have a wide range of adults in their lives. Not that if you homeschool, you can't make that happen. But I always worked full-time too, so that would have been extremely challenging for me. And homeschooling is definitely a privilege. It's a luxury. I know people that are very good at it, that are very committed to it, but it really was just not ever something that was possible for me, and probably also not advisable. Not possible and not advisable, so no. What advice, wisdom do you have for a new pilot spouse? So this might surprise some of you, but my advice would be don't wait to try to establish friends that are cool with you going places by yourself. I never was good, especially not in the early days, of going out without Scott, especially when the boys were young. I always felt weird, like showing up to family barbecues and everybody else's husband was there and mine was always working, and so I just wouldn't go. And I think that was dumb. I think that I needed to either get my current group of friends used to the fact that my husband was going to be working, or I needed to find friends that understood and were cool with it. I think you have to be very independent if your spouse travels like that. I think you have to be able to develop your own friendships, your own activities, all of the things. Don't sit at home waiting for them to be home to have a life. And then when they're home, you spend as much time with them as possible, because it can definitely be a both and thing. It's not like you're becoming so independent that when they get home, you're like, oh, you're here? I didn't even know you were coming home. You still definitely want to be connected to that spouse. And that is more of a challenge when they travel. Although I will say technology helps with that a lot now, because Scott and I can FaceTime, we can chat all throughout the day. In the early days, it was sad. Like we would maybe be able to talk on the phone once a day. So I do think technology has made that better, but definitely have your own interests, have your own life, be okay going out by yourself, and then also understand that when he's home or she's home, they may not want to go out because they've been out all the time. So it becomes even more important that you're not sitting at home waiting for them to go somewhere, because you might not ever leave the house. you go. Don't know why that felt like the most important thing to share about that. What season of life have you enjoyed most so far? I'm in the toddler season and it's hard. Oh, the toddler season. The toddler season is so hard. I love this phase of life the most of all of them, but I will say that I'm the type of person that if you asked me that in any other season, I would have said I was enjoying that season the most. I really believe that the moment that I'm in is the only one that exists. And so I try very hard not to look backwards or forward. I don't always succeed, but I try. And I can honestly tell you that I am the happiest I've ever been in my life, partly because of what I said before, recovering from trauma and things like that. But I think also there's just this gratitude for where I am. And so I think if you're great, if you have gratitude in every season, that can be the best season of your life. And every season is going to come with challenges. The toddler season has so many challenges and it's so physically exhausting. But you also have the benefit of having toddlers, and they're only that age for about a minute and a half. So also like drinking all of that in and really doing everything you can for yourself so that you're well rested, so that you can remember, so that you can enjoy and feel like you're experiencing it and not just surviving it. I think that is very hard to do, but it's worthy of examination. And if you need to hire in more help, if you need to talk to your partner about getting more support, whatever the case may be, so that you can be well rested, so the magical moments are magical to you and not just moments to get through to get to the next moment, because it's really, really hard. I had another young mom ask any advice when you've got two under two. And maybe not all of you know, I had 3 kids in 3 years. My now 27-year-old had just turned 3 when his identical twin brothers were born. And I think just prioritize sleep and nutrition. As simplistic as that sounds, for the mom, that is like the bedrock of everything else. If you're not sleeping and you're not eating well, you cannot possibly come to the table with what you need to either care for yourself, to care for your kids, to have good memories, to build a family that you are excited about. And it's not that you're still not going to have bad days, but you have got to feed yourself and you've got to sleep. And you've got to arrange your life however you need to arrange your life to make sure that that can happen. So yeah, that would be my advice about that. Any fun plans while you are home for a while? Home projects. Yes, we are in the midst of making some very interesting decisions around here that I'm 100% not ready to talk about, but are very exciting. And it will mean that I am doing a lot of cleaning out this summer. I'm pretty good about that. I'm not, I talk about it on my channel all the time, right? But I am trying to do a little bit of Swedish death cleaning around here and get rid of as many non-essentials as I can while still holding on to and cherishing the things that I really, really love. So I plan on doing that. Today is kind of like my reset day, get this video up, and then I will start getting some home project videos out to you guys. I promise I will. There are a lot of big things to tackle around here, as there always are. I'm going to have a lot of day in the life videos coming up. And I'm just really grateful for this space. Thank you for supporting me the way that you do. Thank you for being such a source of joy and inspiration for me in the comments over on Instagram. You guys truly are the best viewers in the world. And every day I'm grateful for what I get to do with my life. So that's all we have time for today. Whatever you're doing, I hope you're finding joy, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video.